Hey internet, what's going on? It's me, Richard. Today's an important day, or more like yesterday was an important day, depending on when I'm able to upload this video. Either way, this past Saturday was an important day because it was when RWBY Volume 5 was released in its entirety. Well, actually it was last Saturday, but since I don't have the money for Rooster Teeth First, believe it or not, I have to wait until YouTube, like most of you. Let's face it, people, we're all cheap sons of bitches. Either way, today is an important day for me because if you guys remember from my final thoughts video on RWBY Volume 1, I mentioned a little important thing. That was that not only have I known about RWBY before I started my reviews, that I had actually watched RWBY up to Volume 4. Now, some of you might have asked, well, why didn't he say Volume 5? And some of you might have answered, well, maybe it was because Volume 5 hadn't been completely released yet. But then why didn't I just say that it was currently up to date with RWBY? Well, it's because I haven't watched Volume 5 at all. Yes, believe it or not, today will be the first time that I've seen Volume 5 of RWBY. Now, some of you might be asking, why did I wait so long to watch Volume 5? And that actually is kind of an interesting question. See, when it comes to me, one of the things I absolutely hate about watching shows is waiting in between the episodes. See, waiting between seasons is fine for me because usually a season ends in a particular way that sort of cuts it off from the next season, allowing us to have a definitive closing. And yes, while back in Volume 1 and Volume 2, I kind of watched each episode as it came out, it was sort of close towards the end of Volume 2 that I kind of stopped doing that. This is for two primary reasons. One was, of course, I hated when people commented in the comment section below and just spoiled the show for the rest of us. But that can be easily avoided if you just don't read the comments, and let's face it, that's not too hard when it comes to YouTube videos. What I'm trying to say is that the comment section can become very cancerous. Just look at my videos. The other reason is because during that time I was working on a project and I really didn't want RWBY to influence that project at all, so I kind of cut myself off from RWBY for a little while. Sadly, that project took me a little longer than I thought it would take, and I was kind of left with a decision. I either compromise and watch Volume 3, or I compromise in a different way and not watch Volume 3. I decided to go with the latter because I thought that it'd just be easier. You know, I'd finish up with what I was doing, and then I'd maybe miss a couple episodes and just have to catch back up. That was not the case. See, when I was finally at a point where I can actually watch Volume 3 without it actually influencing my work, Volume 3 was pretty much over. So I pretty much told myself, you know what, I've waited so long, I've done this with other shows, just wait a little while longer, and then I'll binge watch the entire Volume 3. And to anyone who has watched Volume 3, that was not a good idea to binge watch it. My emotional scars have still not healed. But either way, that kind of continued a trend, because when Volume 4 came up, I told myself, well, I did it with Volume 3, why not I just wait and binge watch all of Volume 4? I was working on a very similar project, and I was thinking to myself, you know what, I've got school, I got work, I got this project, and I'm thinking of making videos. Why not I just wait? And that's pretty much what happened. I waited until Volume 4 came out in its entirety, then I went over to my friend Ryan's house, and we watched it together, since he had Rooster Teeth First, he can actually, you know, afford it. And I liked it, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna do this pretty much with every other volume that comes out. Which isn't a real big change because I've been doing this pretty much with every show. Partly not because I wanted to, but mostly because I had to. See, our family really didn't have any television when I was growing up. We just really had just a bunch of random channels. None of them had any good shows. So unless it was the Saturday morning cartoons that showed on Fox, I usually had to wait until it came to my library before I could watch it. And that's pretty much what has happened here. I have not watched a single thing about Volume 5. In fact, I usually cut myself off completely from anything to do with RWBY. Anytime a video that comes out about RWBY that I'm interested in watching, I usually have to save it to watch later. Then the Facebook pages and the Twitter and the media, everything. I literally cut myself from everything so I get no spoilers and I just binge watch it as a virgin. And considering how Volume 3 treated me, I don't think I can call myself a virgin anymore. But yeah, anyways, that's what's going to be happening today. Or more like later on today, because sadly I have work at 2. So pretty much what is going to happen is I'm going to be going to work, then rushing home at 10:30, jumping in the shower, making myself a bowl of ramen, and then binge watching all of Volume 5. Afterwards, then I'll record my reaction, and I'm going to put it in this video. Don't worry, to any of you who haven't watched Volume 5, like that's a possibility, I'm going to make sure that there's no spoilers. More or less is what I'm going to do is just give you my general opinion on it. No reviews, no final thoughts about it, just literally my first impression about the show. I'll be covering the three main things that a story must have. That, of course, is the characters, plot, and world. How good are the characters? Are there any new ones? How are old ones doing? How are their interactions with each other, the plot, and the world? How is the plot doing? What is the main goals of our villains? What is pretty much, in essence, the end goal of this show? And of course, world. And this will be an interesting one because, believe it or not, I kind of called this. Yeah, believe it or not, back in the middle of Volume 2, I was kind of already thinking what Haven would look like. And more importantly, what Mistral would look like. And not just that, but what the culture was like. And believe it or not, I wasn't too far off. Granted, from what I've seen in pictures so far, the whole structure of the city is slightly off, but the culture is dead on. Yeah, either way, guys, in about a couple hours, I'll be going to work, and then I'll be rushing home, record my reaction, and then probably immediately have to upload this. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going to be happening. I'm going to be watching Volume 5 for the first time, and I am really excited. So yeah, I should probably stop recording this right now so I can edit it as fast as I can. I'll catch you guys in a couple hours.
One eternity later.
But felt like it.
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm finally back home. I just finished up watching RWBY Volume 5, and right now it's about like 4:40 in the morning. I am exhausted. Let's get right into it. Did I like RWBY Volume 5? Yes. I wasn't head over heels with it, but I did enjoy it. And at the end of the day, I would have to say, if I compared this to the other volumes, I would have to say RWBY is getting better in ways that you're probably not expecting. So with that, let's jump right into what I initially said I was going to say. Now remember, I'm not going to spoil anything, so don't worry. Let's talk about the three things I said a story must have. That is, of course, characters, plot, and world. Let's start with the third one there and work our way up. World. Haven is pretty interesting. Definitely visually distinct from Vale, which had a bit more, I would have to say, a Western appeal to it. But the city of Mistral, I would have to say, is, again, stunning. Like I said, when I was coming up with ideas of what Mistral would look like, it's definitely different from what I originally thought, but not far. The one little niggle that I do have is the fact that while we are in the city of Mistral, we don't get to see the city of Mistral. For the most part, we stick away from the city. We don't get to see the culture, we don't get to really see the people, which I thought was, well, a bit of a letdown. I mean, you have a new environment, why not use it to its full potential? But the show wasn't really focusing on that, because the thing it was focusing on was the second of the three, plot. I would have to say, of all the volumes so far, Volume 5 is the one that focuses most on plot. We get to learn more about the villains, we get to learn more about their motives, we get to learn more about other people's motives. We're finally getting to the part where we are having more of an actual story. It isn't just simply going along with a couple characters that we liked. We are actually getting into the story, which I think some people were kind of a little down on because they weren't expecting that, forgetting that, guys, listen, this is a story, okay? Every show has got a story, and the good ones are the ones that try to focus on the story, trying to build it up. The bad ones are ones that just stagnate and just give you more of the same stuff and just recycle plots again and again. I'm looking at you, Dragon Ball. Now, of course, there's always cons to things, and of course the con with the plot is that I don't think it was very cohesive. Again, no hate on any of the writers of Rooster Teeth, but I just don't think that they're giving it their all when it comes to RWBY. Sure, they give us what we want, and sure, we are very happy with it, but when it comes to a story, I love good stories. I love interconnected stories. And sadly, there's a lot of potential to have interconnectivity in these volumes, but it isn't reached to its full potential. That's not to say that I hated Volume 5, because again, I really did like it. And one of the things I liked most about it was the most important thing that a story must have: characters. And I have to say, RWBY is still bringing all the good characters. Well, maybe not all. There are some that I would have to say are very cliched, and some that are just so boring. It's just, my god, they did not develop these characters at all. They're literally there to fill a role, and that was it. But lucky for us, for the most part, they aren't the main characters. Our four main girls are still very interesting, and I have to say the dynamic between all four of them still very compelling. Now, problems with the characters is that I thought a few of them were a bit, well, lackluster, and some of the interactions were a little cliched. Once again, that's not to say that they were bad, just to say that, well, they could have been a lot better. Now, I'm really tired right now, and I want to go to bed, but there are two things I want to talk about now that I've watched RWBY Volume 5. They're not on the story or the characters or the world, but on the show itself, and that being something I'll talk about later, but you might have been hearing from various sources, the fights were a little underwhelming. In comparison to Volume 1 through 3, we got some really good fights. Volume 4, they were focusing on some other things, and in Volume 5 it's most prominent when they try to get back to some of those epic fights, and they just don't seem as, well, gripping as they were before. And I'm gonna tell you guys this little secret. Can you keep your secret? Those were the ones that had Mani in them. Yes, Mani helped in Volumes 1, 2, and 3. That's why the fights are so awesome. However, sadly, he passed away, which means that they had to take up the mantle. And let's just face it, people, it ain't easy filling Mani's shoes when it comes to awesome fights. But RWBY has never been about the fights, okay? I know that you anime fanboys love your fights, and let's be honest, I love them too. However, when it comes to a story, and more importantly, when it comes to a story that we want to remember, characters, plot, and world need to take center stage. Characters in RWBY definitely have taken center stage. The plot is getting along, and maybe it will be awesome Volume 6 and up. I don't know. As for the world, let's face it, this world may be a little cliched with the whole magic and the superpowers and, well, all that, but it's still an interesting world, and I have to say it's going to go down as one of the few unique ones out there. RWBY Volume 5 is the next step. I will get more onto this when I review Volume 5. But as for me, I enjoyed Volume 5. I'm glad I waited. And, well, I think I'm gonna go to bed now. Oh shit, that's right, I gotta edit this. Also, I just wanted to add, my friend Ryan, the guy I was talking about earlier, he was in my comment review video, and I was saying that he had Rushdie first and likely had watched it. It's funny, I found out today he hasn't watched it. He's watched a few episodes, but due to time constraints and him playing a lot of the video game Nier Automata, he hasn't watched RWBY. Get on it, Ryan. It's a good volume. Toodles!